I'm your guy, Nate Christian. I'm here to talk about one of the most underrated wide receivers in this class. He's definitely one of the top. He's in my top five, solidly in that top tier. It's Rashod Bateman, a guy that not enough people are talking about right now. Rashod Bateman is probably the most pro-ready prospect out of this entire draft class for wide receivers, and he's put up great numbers in college. He has the great profile of an ex-wide receiver for the NFL. I don't know why people aren't talking about him, but that's a good thing for us. We can take advantage of that. And I'm going to tell you why. So, starting off, he's got good size 6'2", 210 pounds. And he came into Minnesota as a freshman, put up great numbers. His freshman year, 51 receptions, 704 yards, and 6 touchdowns. That's pretty good for the Big Ten. Maybe not as good as Rondale Moore in his crazy historical freshman year, but Rashod Bateman broke out his freshman year, and that's something that whenever we see, we have to take a note of. That is an incredible thing to do in college football, come out as an 18-year-old and put up numbers on the juniors and seniors been playing out there for 3 or 4 years. In his next season, as a sophomore, he set school records with 60 receptions for 1,200 yards and 11 touchdowns, and then won the Big Ten Receiver of the Year award, as well as many other awards, as well as being an All-American that year. And this year, he opted out, came back in, opted out. It was a weird year for a lot of these wide receivers who opted out. Some of them opted back in, only to opt back out. Just kind of chalking up the 2020 season to whatever. Really important to see that good 2018, 2019 tape, and Bateman shines on both of those years. Talking about what he can do at the next level, though. He's probably the best route runner in this class. There's a couple other guys that go up there. Most people will tell you maybe Devontae Smith is one of the best route runners, but I think it's Rashod Bateman. He just runs his route so well, has such a clean release off the line of scrimmage, and has that size to really body up with bigger cornerbacks. So I want to show you some film of a good release that he has at the line of scrimmage, and then not only the fact that he can release and run these good routes, but he also has the size to high point the ball. This is his first career touchdown with Minnesota against Maryland in 2018. Watch the release at the top of the screen, gets open, and then high points the ball for a touchdown.
Back shoulder Aaron Rodgers fade here. You'll see he throws it behind Bateman, who's able to get his left foot down over Tino Ellis. Look at that.
That shows great body control. And I love that release. That's only his freshman year. And he's improved a lot since then. He's a lot quicker with his releases now. But he has great feet. And he also has the thickness and size and physicality to win at the line of scrimmage with his hands. And there's not a lot of prospects that can come into the NFL with those pro-ready traits. Another thing that I just love about Rashod Bateman, and I honestly love about any wide receiver, is if they can catch the ball, and Rashod Bateman has incredible hands. He always has. He has magnets in his mitts, as they say. And outside of his body, in his body, over the shoulder, doesn't matter. He's catching the ball. You hardly see any drops for Rashod Bateman. And this is important because a lot of routes he runs are shorter and immediate, and sometimes we can see more drops from those routes because the ball is coming in quicker and faster and before their heads even turned. Rashod Bateman has no issues with that in his college tape. Watch this catch across the middle. Doesn't matter that contact's coming in. He's got the ball.
Play clock at 2. Morgan over the middle. Nice catch. A fingertip grab by Rashod Bateman.
His first catch of the day, but great right there, getting off the jam. And look at that's called all hands team right there, fully extended in the middle of the field, not worried about.
The exciting thing about Rashod Bateman is, like I've said, he's the most pro-ready player. He's a chain mover. He is a guy that a team can target with wide receiver one volume. He could see 120 targets very easily and do something great with those. He could have a lot of first down catches. I would expect his yards per catch to be around the 12-yard mark. He's not a burner down the field. He's not going to create a lot of yards after the catch, but he is a solid receiver, catches the ball, runs great routes, gets open. My comparison for him is Michael Thomas. Not that he's Michael Thomas's ability, but the fact that they play a very similar style of game with high receptions for low yardage, but a chain mover nonetheless. And one of the things that people will try to talk down about Rashod Bateman is he's not the athlete that some of the other wide receivers in this class are. For example, Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, Rondale Moore. Those guys are just incredible athletes who are going to test off the charts in this offseason. Rashod Bateman is not likely to test off the charts, though he did have a 4.4 coming out of high school. He just doesn't have the same game speed as those other guys. But I'm not worried about it. We've had plenty of good wide receivers who have size and route running ability who run in the 4.5s, 4.6s, and play just fine. And also game speed is more important than a 40-yard dash, the underwear Olympics. I don't care about that at the end of the day. And when we watch his film, he has plenty of athleticism to break off a big play if given open space. Watch him take this slant to the house.
The injured player was Kenyon Jackson. He went off for Illinois. And now the next play, completion to Rashod Bateman. And Rashod Bateman inside the 10 and into the end zone for the Golden Gophers. Look.
Yeah, well, it's the run-pass option. He hits the slant. And you can see the safety right there. He started going up, and then he got his feet all tangled up, and he didn't have a chance.
I would not call that slow. That's plenty fast enough to make an impact in the NFL. Just because he's not flashy doesn't mean he's not good. He is the most pro-ready wide receiver out of all of these guys, currently my wide receiver 4. And he can fit into any offense, immediately be a safety blanket for a young quarterback or a high-volume target for an older quarterback. I think he can fit any landing spot. I'm going to love it. He's great. Speaking of landing spots, though, some teams that come to mind for me, because his draft capital is probably going to be around the end of the first, beginning of the second. That's about where his talent's going to fit in. I like the New York Jets at pick 34 in the second round, 34th overall. With Sam Darnold or another quarterback who they drafted number 2, I think Rashod Bateman is the perfect wide receiver for that security blanket that I just talked about. Denzel Mims and Jamison Crowder are also there. I think Denzel Mims can stretch the field. He can be an alpha wide receiver, but I think the volume should not be going to Denzel Mims, but rather to a player like Rashod Bateman, who's going to be more of a chain mover. Another team I really like is the Philadelphia Eagles. A lot of mock drafts want the Eagles to pick a wide receiver in the first round. Well, they just traded Carson Wentz, so Jalen Hurts is the quarterback we know going forward, unless they pick someone at number 6. I think a wide receiver is a better pick in the second round for the Eagles. I think Rashod Bateman fits that team really well. He would be a great complement to Jalen Reagor, who is a great down the field threat, but not someone I necessarily want to give wide receiver 1 volume 120 targets to. I think Rashod Bateman, like I've said so many times, is so pro-ready with his route running that he can be any quarterback's best friend, especially a quarterback like Jalen Hurts, who is more likely to get out of the pocket and be looking for a player who's coming across the middle. Rashod Bateman's going to fit that. He's going to fit with the Eagles. He's going to fit with the Jets. He's going to fit with just about any team that drafts him. He is landing spot independent. Doesn't matter. You want this guy on your team. He's probably going at the end of the first, early second of some of your rookie mocks. There's some other players who are flashier and more exciting, but it doesn't matter. Highlights do not create good fantasy production. High volume and efficiency with that volume is what creates fantasy production. Rashod Bateman checks off those boxes, and he's going to be day 2 pick, early day 1 pick, late day 1 pick, and you just can't knock it. I think he's another player that I can come to kind of like a T. Higgins, where he's going to be at the end of this first, beginning of the second, get that contract of about 4 years for $8.5 million, and be a steal because he's not that one of the first couple wide receivers drafted. He doesn't have that big highlight tape. He's going to be a steal, just like T. Higgins was in this last draft. Make sure you keep your eye for Rashod Bateman. Hype him up in your inner circles because he is not getting talked about enough. And hey, that's the prospect preview with Nate. You can follow me at Nate NFL on Twitter. Make sure you follow Dynasty Owner at Dynasty_owner. Check out the website. There's an article to go with this. Bringing you a new prospect every week. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter. Until next time.